Recently, on June 9th, Microsoft had their Xbox showcase, and they showed some amazing games like Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Assassin's Creed, a new Gears of War game, and even Indiana Jones. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Just Because Gaming. My name is Michael.
And I'm Ray.
And thanks for joining us. Microsoft had their Xbox Games Showcase, and they showed, I think, about 30 games, and it was awesome. They had a lot of great games, and then some that were just okay.
I liked most of it, but yes, there were definitely some that were not going to be any of my interest that I will almost definitely not play. And we'll kind of cover that as we're doing our talk of each game.
One of the first ones that they showed, aside from Black Ops, because that was kind of in the beginning and at the end, but the first real game that they showed was Doom: The Dark Ages, and it definitely looked cool. That one was the one, I think you said, Ray, that that's the one with the chainsaw shield, right?
Yes, you see him, he pulls the string and cranks up the shield. He can toss it like a boomerang and it comes back to him. I guess it's like magnetically attached to his arm or something. It was cool. I liked it. The Doom games are always just wild, crazy fun. You can play it on a very low level, so it takes very little skill, or you can play it on the higher level if you want to really test yourself. And there's a lot of humor usually in them, a lot of gore. But this here looked incredible, where you can get into like a demon mech and fight this gigantic demon, or you've got a flying demon that you can ride around in there, and it really caught me on this one. I'm looking forward to it now. Wasn't so interested when I first heard about it. I was like, okay, they're going back to like the origins of the Doomslayer.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm looking at it going, oh yeah, I'm playing this.
Yeah,
that's a yay for me right
cool.
there.
Yeah, it was definitely looking cool because in the video clip that I was watching, he had like a double barrel shotgun in one hand and the chainsaw shield in another, and I'm like, and then when I saw that he threw it and it came back, I was like, oh, so he's like Captain America, except the shield is a chainsaw blades. And he has a shotgun. I'm like, what? Cool,
right? I also liked the weapon he had that was like grinding up the skulls and then shooting pieces at the enemies. That was awesome. Mm-hmm. A lot of good weaponry, but they always have that. They kept some of the classics like the spike gun where you can spike your enemies to a wall and watch them dangle. It's great.
Oh yeah. So
and for those of you who haven't already heard, it's also coming to PS5. So PS5 owners, you won't be left out. But this one will be on Game Pass, which is a bonus for those people who aren't Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah. So final vote, Ray. You gonna play it?
Oh, I'm definitely playing it.
Yeah, me too. I'll play it. I can't say that I'm gonna continuously play it, but I'll definitely play it. I hope I'll play through it to the end. This might be one of those games that it just gets old and I don't finish it and it ends up collecting dust, or digital dust. But
that's one of the nice things about the Doom games. All of them I've ever played, they're usually like 8 to 10 hours. Maybe 12 tops if you're really hunting collectibles and stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's finishable. That's one of the things I like about it. I like games that are... I'm not going to be spending... I mean, I like a good 80, 100-hour, multiplayer online game or whatever, but I don't need every game to be that. I need games that I can just go in and go zip, 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 and I'm done. Yeah. And it was a good, enjoyable experience, and I might even go back and do it again if it was really fun. Next up on the list of going in order of what happened in the showcase is State of Decay 3. I know a lot of people have been looking forward to this. The State of Decay games have been a real popular survival horror zombie game series. This one probably looks the best of them that I've seen. I've not really gotten into playing them, but I've watched some other people play it online and that kind of thing, and it looks good. I've just been kind of overdone on the whole zombie genre, but as zombie games go, this one looks good because you rescue your survivors. It's got a survival element in it where you're, I guess, gathering resources, and trying to keep your survivors happy, and they help you fight. And if you lose one, they're gone. So I mean, it's got a cool elements to it.
Yeah, when I was first watching that trailer, when I saw that one woman with the that one black woman with the braids, I was like, "Is this Walking Dead? Is that Michonne?" But no, I mean it looks good. But yeah, like you, I'm kind of burnt out on zombie games between State of Decay, Left 4 Dead, Dead Island, Dead Rising. It's like everything's a zombie game, and I'm like, I'm tired of zombies. Like even Call of Duty, their multiplayer or not multiplayer, but their co-op has zombies. I'm like, can we take a break from the zombies? I'm so tired of zombies. So, um, when it
Only
comes
thing
to
I can
me,
figure is everybody else is not, because obviously that it sells. And I don't mind a good zombie game. I don't want to dedicate a lot of time to that when I've got other games I need to play first.
for me, I don't know about you, Ray, but this game's going to be a pass for me. I'm probably not going to play this just because I'm not going to. Even though this might be on Game Pass, I'm not going to spend the time, money, or digital space on my hard drive for it. So I probably won't end up playing it. I mean, for people that do like zombie shooters, go for it, but not me personally. What about you?
I'm pretty sure they'll have a pretty good, turnout of people playing it, especially on Game Pass because it is there. I might try it if I ever get caught up on my backlog of other games, but being as that seems very unlikely at this point, it'll probably be one I pass on.
The next one they showed is Dragon Age 3, the Veilguard. And with that one, it looked really cool. And it had a lot of different classes. I lost count of all the different classes that there were. I mean, there were your typical necromancers and barbarians and stuff like that, but they must have had over a dozen different classes. And once I realized that it was Dragon Age, I was like, oh, this isn't like Overwatch where you pick different characters that you are. These are potential allies that you'll have, that
Right.
you can recruit into your team. The only downside I saw to this game was that it was a little too cartoonish for my taste. It looked like one of those 3D cartoons rather than the typical Dragon Age artwork that you usually play as, where it's like almost a little realistic. They're straying heavily away from realism to look like kind of cartoonish, like with those
That
rounded edges instead of
kind of going more
the
Borderlands looking. It could also be that this game's still pretty early in development. I mean, it is a 2024 release, but maybe this footage just doesn't show all of the shaders and all the textures. They might not have that on there. Although you think they would, if they're going to show the game, they'd try to put as much of that in there as they could. But still, the look was fine for me. It didn't really bother me. The Dragon Age games were never, you know, the highest realism of games, but they were fun to play. Usually had really good stories, so that's what I'm looking forward to. And this one is a good story.
yeah. I'm hoping that the character this time around doesn't have an awkward name, like how I think it was Dragon Age 2, where the character's name was Hawk, and you just,
Yeah,
when you created your character, you just put your name in front of it. So mine was Mike Hawk.
not good,
So
not good. Oh, luckily,
so
it's not an online game.
I'm hoping that it's not like, oh, this time the character's a hunter, so his last name is Hunt. I'm like, wait a second.
I don't know. I think
No,
you
I'm gonna
should change
change
your
my
gamer
name this
tag.
time.
Following Dragon Age, we had the Starfield DLC, Shattered Space, which, for those of you who have played Starfield, you know that the Veyron is kind of a underlying backstory kind of thing. You don't have a lot of interaction with anything Veyron. You might pick up a weapon here and there. There's one or two missions where you go into the embassy, I think. But this is something I kind of saw coming. You could tell that they were going to lead something DLC wise into that storyline. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be very interesting. I've just jumped back into Starfield because they had the update that dropped the night of the showcase, which is supposed to make a lot of improvements and add things for your base building and that sort of thing. So I'm looking forward to checking all that out and playing that. I haven't even completed the main storyline yet, so I'm hoping to knock that part out and then get into the rest of the game. Because from what I hear, doing the main storyline first and then kind of doing all the extra stuff is better.
Yeah, when I was looking at it and watching the trailer and everything, it looked very like kind of dark and a little twisted. So that's what made me think that it was related to BioShock, because it kind of had that BioShock vibe where like it's twisted and evil and stuff like that. I was expecting to see a circus of values vending machine somewhere, you know.
Well, I mean, that's the House of Varun in their storyline are this like cult that's out in space that kind of separated themselves from everybody else, and they worship the Great Serpent, which is supposed to come and I don't know devour everybody at some point. Sounds great. Let's worship that. So
Yeah,
I'm assuming that the Great Serpent's coming, and your job is going to be to stop it.
and what about this Starfield DLC?
Oh,
You're
I'll
probably
definitely
going
play
to end up
that.
playing that too, huh?
Yeah, and if you ever jump into Starfield, I imagine you'll get into it too. It's like Fallout in space. So if you like Fallout, you'll probably like this one.
When I first saw Starfield, I was kind of under impressed and underwhelmed because it just seemed like a space exploration game and it kind of seemed boring. But yeah, with all this extra aspect to it, yeah, I'll probably end up playing it.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that they're doing, I don't know if it was in this update because I haven't seen anything like that yet. But they're supposed to be adding vehicles. So if I can drive around the planets instead of having to walk, that'll make a huge difference. Because that's the worst part of the game is, hey, this thing's 1,000 meters over here, and it takes me, you know, 10 minutes to walk to it. Okay, I get it. It's a nice big planet, but I don't want to spend 10 minutes walking.
Yeah,
And yeah, you can kind of scan plants and all that kind of stuff. That stuff there is not exciting. I want to get into the shooting things. I mean, that's
yeah.
what you play the game for. Uh, Next in the showcase was Fallout 76 DLC. It's called Skyline Valley, and it's going to be the very first where they've actually extended the map in the Fallout 76 universe. They'll add a new Vault 63. Um, and then a year from now, you're supposed to even have an update that comes where you can have your character as a ghoul, so you don't have to be, skinned, fair complexion, all that kind of stuff. You can have your skin dripping off you and your nose gone, like most ghouls. If you haven't played Fallout 76, which I know you and me, Mike, I've played a bit more than you. I may jump back into it just to try it out and see, what's changed and what these updates are doing. And because I spent a lot of time. That's one of the reasons I have such a backlog of other games is I've spent a lot of time in Fallout 76, and maybe it's time to go back.
With me, with Fallout 76, I played it for a little bit, but then I just gave up on it just because it just didn't have that same appeal to me that Fallout 3 and 4 had in New Vegas and everything. But maybe I just didn't get far enough deep into it. But I don't know. I'm probably going to end up passing on Fallout 76's DLC because I just haven't really played Fallout 76 that much.
Yeah, it's a time consuming game. It's one of those ones that will eat up a lot of time. You'll sit there and have done barely anything, like 2 or 3 missions, and then built a base. And I can spend all day building a base.
I take it you're going to be playing this DLC.
I'll probably check it out. I didn't play the last DLC where you could go on the expeditions to the pit and that kind of thing. So I hadn't even done that because I've been trying to catch up on some of these other games I wanted to play.
And one of the next games that was in the showcase is Expedition 33. And it's an interesting game and an interesting concept. And Ray, you and I were actually talking about how confusing this concept is. But if
You were confused. I think I have it down.
now, no, there's still a lot of confusion. So the premise of this game is there's a character called the Paintress, and up in the sky, she writes a number. And if that number is your age, you basically just turn to dust, as if Thanos just snapped his fingers. So the question that I had earlier was like, do you only die at the moment where she writes the numbers, or is it like as long as that number is up there, if you become that number, you will turn to dust. So like if the number's 40 and I'm 39, but that number stays up there for 9 months, and during that 8th month I turn 40, does that mean I'm also going to turn to dust that very moment, or
Yep, I
is it
think
only
you
when
are.
she initially writes it, you know?
I think you are, because that would be a cool thing to have going on while you're out here fighting and everything, and somebody's birthday rolls around and part of your party just goes gone.
That would be an interesting concept, but I mean there's just like, it's kind of awkward. And like you mentioned earlier in the video, they showed her go from 34 to 33, so it's like, is it a countdown? Because if that's the case, then it would essentially wipe out everybody 1 year at a time.
But it can't do that because you had the one guy was obviously an older guy. He had to be maybe 40 something. Then you had the teenager. You had some ages in between there. So I kind of feel like if you're at that age when they write the number, you turn to dust. Anything beyond that, it's all on pause until she writes the next number. But I do want
So
to know if the numbers are decreasing. Like, will the next number be 32?
yeah, it's kind of like bingo of doom. Death bingo.
Yeah, not good.
But for me, playing this game, I'm a little undecided. I mean, if I get to see more of the story and more of the gameplay, I'll be able to decide whether or not. Honestly, right now I'm probably leaning on no, just because, as interesting as the concept is, I feel like this would make a better like thriller movie than it would a video game, but it looks interesting. But I don't know if that's enough for me right now.
Yeah. Well, I
What
like the
about you,
fact
Ray?
that the studio's trying something different. It's different mechanics in this. The fight mechanics look like your basic, hey, let's fight this boss. I don't know about that. And it looks like it's the turn-based combat, if I remember right.
It is.
And I'm not a fan of turn-based combat. If it comes to Game Pass, I might give it a shot. I don't think this one was listed as a Game Pass, and it's not till 2025 anyway, so we got some time to think about it. But
Yeah.
most likely, it'll be a pass for me too. Next in the showcase was South of Midnight by Compulsion Games. Very colorful. Actually showed some gameplay this time. It's a little bit, out there kind of fantasy. She comes riding in on this giant talking catfish that has two freaky looking eyes. And then there's a giant alligator that has an island on its back. I don't know. It's a little weird, but I kind of like weird. So we'll see how that goes. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I was gonna say you kind of like weird. I mean, we're friends.
Yeah. See,
but
obviously, I like weird.
but yeah, I
And a
mean,
catfishy.
I am very catfishy. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. I didn't honestly like the trailer. Like they're kind of losing points with me just because it seems it seems very cartoonish and silly, and not like in a good like purposeful way like Borderlands is, but it like with the talking catfish and the alligator with the island, it's just like, what's going on here? What is an alligator with an island on his back and a bell with the catfish? And I'm like, what? What? But I mean, I can't say that I haven't played off the wall weird games, because I did like that Telltale game, The Wolf Among Us, and that was very definitely very fairy tale like
Oh
and
yeah.
very odd and awkward, but I loved it.
Oh yeah. It was
So
a
I
great
mean,
game.
yeah. So we'll have to see. Um, right now, it's kind of the same as Expedition 33, where I need some more to see, like as far as cinematics and gameplay. But right now, I'm probably leaning towards no. What about you?
I I'm leaning the other way. It looks interesting enough for me that I would like to try it out. I don't know if this is. I don't think this was a Game Pass game. I don't remember. But
I feel like almost
if it
all
does
of
come
them
to
were.
Game Pass, I'll definitely try it. If not, we'll see. I don't know that this is a $70 game for me. I might have to wait for it to show up in a sale.
The next one they talked about was World of Warcraft, and I got super excited because I thought this was only going to be for games that were on Xbox or Xbox and PC. And when they showed that, they were like, "Oh, we've survived all these things." I was like, are they bringing all this to Xbox? I don't know how they do it, but they did it for Diablo. So I'm like, are they going to bring all this stuff to Xbox? Is World of Warcraft going to be on Xbox? And I got unnaturally excited. And then when they just announced that it's just the next DLC for World of Warcraft, don't get me wrong, it looks awesome, but I kind of got my hopes up. And I don't have a good enough computer right now to play World of Warcraft.
Me either.
I mean, I probably could, but it'd probably look like crap, and the depth wouldn't be that long. So it's not like I could look out into the distance. It'd be like I can look 10 feet in front of me. So I don't want to play a game on like minimum settings. So
Right.
it'll be a pass
There's
for
hope.
me just on that alone.
Maybe in time it will come to Xbox. You know, maybe the next generation of consoles will have that as one of their release title type things. That would be kind of cool.
So the next game that they showed was Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater as a remaster. And I got my hopes up again for this one because, like, when I first saw them showing, the Fox unit and everything, I was like, is this another Metal Gear game? But then I quickly realized that it was just Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. And, like, it kind of broke my heart because, I was really hoping for another Metal Gear, even though, if I recall correctly, the creator of Metal Gear said that he's never going to make another Metal Gear, and instead he wants to make stuff like Death Stranding, which I question his judgment. But still, they made Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, or HD remake, and it looks great. The only thing is, I think it's a missed opportunity because they not recently, but a few years back, they made an HD remaster of Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and Peace Walker, I think. And this would be a great opportunity for them to bundle it all together as one offering, kind of like how there's the Halo Master Chief Collection. I think this would be a great opportunity for them to have a Metal Gear Solid collection where it's 1, 2, 3, and Snake Eater. Since they already have 1 and 2 and Snake Eater done, just throw 3 in the middle of it and bam, you're done. The only one you wouldn't have was the most recent one, which is Metal Gear Solid 4. And I mean, Metal Gear Solid 4, I think you can still buy. So, yeah, you could essentially have all of them on the latest console. And I really feel like this is a missed opportunity, because instead of spending 30 or 40 bucks to buy the HD remake for Metal Gear Solid 3, I would gladly pay 60, even 70 bucks for the entire collection.
Right.
But
yeah, if they put out something like that where they had an entire collection, I might consider it. But right now, I'm not going back to play this.
Yeah. For me, if I didn't have so many games on my backlog, I would definitely play it because the Metal Gear story is just artistic. It is beautiful. It is extremely well done. And I loved every minute of every Metal Gear game I played aside from Metal Gear, what was it, Revengeance or something like that. The one you play as the side character, and I didn't like that. But I enjoyed all the other Metal Gear games. And yeah, if I didn't have such a backlog, I would play this, but otherwise, I'm probably not going to.
They had a DLC release coming up for Sea of Thieves, which is, I know it's a really popular game, but again, it's one I just never got around to playing. I was too busy in 76 when it came out, I think. So I kind of missed the boat on that one. Haha. And I've considered jumping into it now, but I mean, it's in season 13, was it?
Yeah, this is for season 13. Yeah.
I'm a little behind. I don't know if I can jump in and even play without just being destroyed all the time.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, the DLC is unfortunately yet another zombie game where it's season 13 is the zombie version. And I'm just over it. I never really got into Sea of Thieves, so it's an easy pass for me. But yeah, I'm just honestly, that's the one thing that disappointed me about the showcase was the number of indie games and the number of DLC that they're showcasing. I was like, that's really not a showcase. That's really just a cheap ad. because you're already getting attention for these other like huge AAA games, and you just want to like kind of shoehorn some other minor games in there just to be like, hey, we're also doing this. But
Plus,
yeah,
they just recently added that to PS5, so they're kind of getting that out there for those people as well, I imagine, because they're all new to the game, just starting out in it. See, if I played it on PS5, I could join in now and probably be okay,
yeah,
because those people
true.
are all new. Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn. What do you think, Mike?
I mean, it's interesting. It's another zombie killer game. It seemed very like magic based. It's very interesting, but I don't know if I'm gonna play it. It's this is one of those games where I'm undecided until I see more trailers and gameplay.
Right. Yeah. I definitely need to see more about it and see if it's something I'm going to want to play or not. But I mean, it comes out fairly soon, July 18th of this year, so we'll be able to make our decision soon then. After that, which was Age of Mythology, which I believe is just PC, right?
I'm not sure, honestly. I don't recall if it's just PC or PC and Xbox, but yeah, I mean, it's okay. It looked like Civilization, except with warring civilizations. Like you could be
Well,
the
it looked
Greek
like you could drop in
civilization.
as the god and wreak havoc as well, which that would be kind of cool.
Yeah,
I enjoyed like the Age of Empires and Civ games. They're fun, but again, that's another time consuming game if you really get into it, especially the strategy. And I don't want to play the multiplayer. I like to just, build my cities, build my stuff, and fight the, you know, computer based enemies, not have to
yeah,
deal with other people raiding my camp when I'm still building it.
yeah. I mean, I know some people that love games that are like kind of sim based, like
hmm
The Sims and Civilization and like Roller Coaster Tycoon, stuff like that. So there
Yeah,
is definitely a big audience for it. It's just not me. So it's probably going to be an
yeah.
easy
I,
pass for
I
me on
always
this one.
hated The Sims. Sims was the dumbest thing on earth. Let's just play with
Do you know?
dolls on computer. No, this is stupid. Now, Roller
Speak.
Coaster Tycoon, that had, not a longevity of play, but, it had its interesting things, especially when you didn't let the roller coaster go to anywhere and then all the people go, I crash, I'm just an
Speaking of
evil
which,
person. What can I do?
yeah. Speaking of which, random fun fact: Katy Perry. I saw a TikTok where Katy Perry recorded one of her songs in Sim language, Simlish, or whatever it's called. And
Okay.
so it sounds like the background is one of her songs, but just the words coming out of her mouth just are just gibberish. So it's like, wow, they spent a lot of money for nothing.
Did they like put that in the game
Yeah,
specifically? Is that why they did that?
yeah, it was in the game.
Okay. Well, I mean, for people who like that game, I'm sure it was interesting. They probably like Katy Perry.
The game that they showed after that, which I didn't realize what it was at first. I thought it was a sequel to like Watchdog or Deus Ex or something, but it's the reboot of Perfect Dark, which originally came out on the Nintendo 64,
Yep.
which went right past me because right around then I was playing Mario Kart and I was playing GoldenEye. GoldenEye. Uh,
Yeah, I tried to replay GoldenEye when they re-released it, like on Game Pass.
yeah,
Not as good as I remember.
yeah.
It was
The nos-
terrible, really.
the
But
nostalgia
but
definitely
yeah,
dials up the game a little bit.
but
But
yeah, I played all the Perfect Darks back when they first came out, and they were, I enjoyed them. And since I kind of expected this announcement, I guessed right away that that's what this probably was. Especially when she brought up the little gizmo to record the guy's voice and then use it on the um, voice pad, so to unlock the gate or whatever. I like
mhm.
that. This was like the kind of spy game I miss, like the Deus Ex and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Only she's not,
when
augmented. She just has gadgets.
yeah, for me it wasn't until he kept saying Agent Dark, Agent Dark. I was like, wait, is this Perfect Dark? and and then when they said that, I was like, oh damn, that's
Right?
awesome.
I really wasn't, anticipating or looking forward to the Perfect Dark game. I mean, I heard a lot of talk about it, and a lot of people were like, "Oh yeah, Perfect Dark would be great." I'm like, really? You want to reboot Perfect Dark? I don't know, but it looks like they're doing a really fine job of it. And I mean, these are the same people that rebooted Tomb Raider, Crystal Dynamics. So
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
they did
So
such a fabulous job on that. I had pretty good hopes that this might turn out good, and it looks like it really is. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So
I'm actually excited for this now.
yeah. So for me, definitely 10 out of 10. Definitely going to play
Oh
this
yes.
Perfect Dark reboot. Yeah.
Yep, this is a definite play for me as well. After that was a another DLC for Diablo 4 coming out October 8th of this year, Vessel of Hatred. I'm not a big Diablo player, so I don't know whether this is going to be good or not. But I'm sure for those people who are huge into Diablo, which there's a lot of, this one here is really going to be grabbing some people, I imagine.
Yeah. And the only downside for this one, I mean, I dabble with Diablo, but I mean the downside to this was that it was only a cinematic trailer. So I think they might have shown like 10 seconds of gameplay, but the majority of it was just this big, cutscene. And the cutscene looks great, because they showed like a reality version cutscene and then they showed like a video game engine cutscene, and they try to like say that it was the same thing, and it's very weird, but I mean, it looks interesting. For me,
It looked good, but wouldn't watch that in front of your younger children. That would have been rather disturbing for them.
I totally watched that with my 9-year-old Daisy.
Good
So
job.
she
Good job.
saw
Way to
that.
parent.
I wasn't expecting that.
I wasn't either. I mean, it's Diablo. I expect a bit of gore and stuff, but not limbs being split apart into strips. And yeah, that was a lot for that kind of game.
Yeah. But if I get more into playing Diablo, I'll probably play this, but that's a big if because I've got a huge backlog. So it's a maybe for me.
After that, they had Fable. I'm just sad that it's coming out in 2025 and not this year because gosh, I could play some Fable. I loved the first Fable games, and this one's it looks good. You wanted your more realistic looking characters and all that. There you go. That's the most realistic I've ever seen a Fable look because those were always
Yeah.
rather cartoony.
Yeah, it was funny. I liked, the cinematic trailer that they had for it,
Hmm.
where the hero wasn't actually that much of a hero, and the woman's like, "Come on, we actually have to save people," and he's like, "Ah, crap." I mean, it's interesting,
It's got
but
that good dry British humor that all the first games had. The only thing I want to know is it going to have the things where you can get married, you can have children, you can be good or evil? I want to know if it has all those elements that the original Fables had that made them famously
yeah,
fun to play.
yeah. The weird thing is, it had nothing to do with the other cinematic trailer that they showed like a couple months ago, where for Fable you were playing this like little character and there was like giants. You were like, it very much was like Jack and the Beanstalk vibes, and this had nothing to do with that.
No, but I mean, it was just another part of the world. I imagine there's all kinds of things inside of Fable that you will run across, from elves to obviously a giant frog.
So the next game they showed was a game called FragPunk, where it's a kind of futuristic looking shooter, and you can augment the environment with these cards that like you have in your hand and you like crush them and they change the environment. The ones that they showed was like different skins for the guns. They showed like a big head mode. They showed like a couple different things where the
Yeah, the
cards
environment.
modify.
Yeah, it modified the environment, made it all give you cover to hide in, like grass and bushes. And
And while that's an interesting concept, I worry about that because every time I see cards that like do something in a game, I always see that as like a pack that you can purchase with like credits or stars or coins or whatever, like they're doing in the WWE game, where you can unlock characters by purchasing or earning these card packs, and like you can either use them temporarily in like the online stuff, or you can use them permanently for like your play mode type exhibition type stuff. And the fact that you can either earn it or purchase it makes me feel like that for Fragpunk that there's going to be a lot of people that just spend money for the card packs and are like way powered up, and that scares me because I don't like pay to play games
yeah,
where it's like
I, I don't
the
know that
more
it's
you
going to be that.
spend, the
I didn't
better
hear him
you
say
are.
anything about that though. Like the buying card packs. I don't know if that's going to be there. From what I've heard online, anyway, is that it's something like what Call of Duty, the kill streaks. You earn your cards, and then you pick the cards you want for the next round or whatever as a team, and then you have those cards. So I
Yeah,
don't think it's really going to be buying card packs necessarily, but that wouldn't rule it out either because they want to make money.
yeah,
Now, as far as FragPunk goes, chances are I won't play that one. I've played
yeah.
enough 5v5 games that I don't need to get into one of those right now.
Yeah, I mean, if it's on Game Pass, I might dabble with it a little bit just to try it out, but it's not going to be something that stays on my console for a long period of time, most likely, unless they make massive upgrades and have like a really good story. It doesn't look that appealing to me, honestly.
Yeah, and I didn't see anything about story in there, so yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. The next
All
one
right.
they
Now,
have is Winter Burrow, which is a little mouse survival game, it looks like. I mean, it looked like you could see them gathering resources and fixing up their little shelter, and I don't know. I'm not going to play it. How about you, Mike?
probably not. It's a cute indie game, and honestly, if one of my daughters wants to play it, yeah, I'll probably end up getting it for him, especially if it's on Game Pass, because it's a very cute 2D game where you're a mouse that's trying to rebuild like your tree stump home, and you're looking for your aunt and stuff. But I didn't really see anything that appealed to me as a gamer. I mean, it seemed more like kid related. And if that's the case, that's awesome. That's a great
Yeah,
game for
you
kids.
need games like that for kids on every console, but
But for me, it'll be a hard pass.
yes, definitely.
The
Okay.
next game that they talked about was this game called Mixtape, which it looks like a brilliant premise, just poorly executed. Because from what I can tell from the trailer and everything, it looks like the premise is that you play as this girl who has a mixtape and she listens to music, and I don't know if it's the music that alters the reality or if it's her conscious that can alter reality, kind of like that game or kind of like that movie Lucy, where she was so intelligent that she could like alter the world around her. And that's kind of what it reminded me of, because like in the game they showed her like listening to headphones in a convertible car, and she was like pointing to the sky, and there would be like fireworks and fireworks. So
And then the car
it,
takes off and flies. I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So I
it
mean,
kind of lost me with all that. I don't know. I mean, other than it looked like it might have a pretty cool soundtrack, I'm not
yeah,
that interested in this one.
they're definitely having a lot of classic rock and like a great soundtrack, but a soundtrack alone can't carry a game. I mean, unless it's like Rock Band or something, in which you're playing the game, you're playing the music. It's I I don't see it being a game that I'd play, especially because um, in the trailer they were like, "Oh, you're gonna get to live out the life of a teenager where you fall in love and get into fights and evade the cops and
Yeah, I did all
have your
that
first
already. I've already been a
kiss."
teenager. Thanks.
Yeah, have your first kiss and do all this stuff and go to prom, and I'm like, I don't want to do any of this.
No.
So, yeah, I mean, although it's a great premise, I would rather it be like a very actiony game where there's like a bad guy and like maybe she gets captured and like has to fight her way out, kind of like Stranger Things, and like she's being she has people trying to capture her and stuff, and like she's trying to fight them with her powers. That would be cool, but I feel like it's just going to be like a loopy exploration, like, whoa, this is cool game.
Yeah,
And I don't think there's going to be any real substance to it. So it's probably going to end up being a hard pass for me. What about you?
I agree. Hard pass for me as well. After that, you've got Flight Sim 2024. It comes out November 19th. Flight Sim is a beautiful looking game. As far as games go, it's probably one of the most realistic and best looking. All the places you can fly to, and now you've got jobs you can do, from putting out fires to crop dusting to just about anything you can do with aviation. They show a way to do it. It looks really good, and if I had room on my hard drive and time, I'd probably love to get into this one, but not right now. Maybe later on down the road, I might try that one out. But What do you think,
Yeah,
Mike?
and I mean, there's definitely an audience for it because I know that there's a lot of flight enthusiasts that'll have like the whole setup where they've got monitors all around them and they'll have like a professional chair with like vibration features and like speakers by the ears and stuff. So it's like as lifelike as possible.
Oh
And
yeah.
there's just like there's those flight simulator supporters. There's also like racing stuff where they play the racing games with that same kind of setup. And so there's definitely a hardcore audience. It's a very small audience, but there's that hardcore audience. The other thing I've heard is that for the flight simulator games, that it's so realistic, especially when you have it in first person view and you see all the controls in front of you, that they actually do flight training with Flight Simulator. Now, it's the early stages of flight training, mind you, but if someone wants to become a pilot, they're going to play that game first. And I don't know if a lot of these like agencies like Delta or whatever, I mean, if any of our listeners, are pilots or anything, um, then yeah, let us know. But from what I've repeatedly heard, when they're training people in flight school, the first thing they'll do is they'll have like a very realistic setup with multiple monitors, all that setup, and they'll play Flight Simulator because you have to understand all the controls and everything just to be able to get the plane off the ground and to get
Oh
it to land without landing in a huge ball of fire.
yeah.
So
No,
it
you're taking all the
definitely
fun out
has
of it.
value. What's that?
You're taking all the fun out of it. And of course, now we have another DLC.
DLC Fest.
Yep. Celebrating 10 years of ESO. They're doing on June 18th uh, Gold Road for Elder Scrolls Online. Again, another game that I started playing once long ago and just never went back to because I don't have time for an MMO.
Yeah, I mean,
If I was retired and had no job, I could do that, but I do not live that lifestyle.
yeah, I know it's weird, right? Wanting to retire as a little old man just so you could play video games all day. That's all I would do is I would just play video games all day and just day drink.
And nap.
I'd just be the drunk old man playing video games in the neighborhood. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, let's go over to Michael's house and you know, old man Michael and watch him play video games and yell at the TV."
There you go.
But yeah, I'm in that same boat. I played a lot of Elder Scrolls Online when it first came out, but I burned out on that game so quick. After that is Life is Strange. Um, I wasn't sure what it was at first, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be kind of one of those hyper woke games and everything." But then I started to realize that it was the Life is Strange game series, and I mean, yeah, they kind of are hyper woke, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it's a really good game. And the entire Life is Strange series is just amazing. It's fun. The only complaint I've ever had with the Life is Strange series is that a lot of the collectibles and achievements are like picture related. And half the time it's really stupid. It's like, oh, take a picture of your coffee with the heart symbol in it. And it's like, that's an achievement. And
Right?
my feelings towards that would be I don't mind if that's like a part of the game, if like taking pictures is a part of the story, like if she's trying to, because in this game, in Life is Strange, the game's called Life is Strange Double Exposure, and you're trying to prevent a murder of your friend. And, in that case, I totally understand the concept of a camera, like taking pictures of all these people to like match them up with possible suspects and everything, and taking pictures of people in awkward situations, almost like a detective level game.
Yeah. And I
And
could see him going that route with it more so in this one than the first one because the first one she's just what was she like 12 or something in that game,
I don't
13
know.
somewhere in there. She's going to take pictures of things. She's not like a professional photographer. Now she's 18, 19, 20 something maybe. So obviously you're going to take more less childish pictures and maybe they would hopefully play and like here let me bring evidence into this parallel universe with the pictures I took in this one so
Yeah,
you'll believe what I'm saying. And I can see that
exactly.
happening. And that
E-
would make it much better. Plus,
exactly.
she was a
I
likable character in the first one, and they're bringing her back for this one. So that sparks my interest a little more than the other games previously to that.
yeah, I mean, I'm kind of wanting it to seem like the detective aspect of like LA Noir. except with the photography aspect of
Yeah.
Life is Strange. Like I would love to see that like mashup, but
Yeah, probably won't, but yeah.
I mean, not the like part where it's like accuse, suspect, question, not like that, but still, I feel like there's a lot of like interesting options and routes that they could go with this, and I hope they focus more on the gameplay rather than like the cute and cool and trendy things that you can do in the game.
Right.
But
All right, hold
I'm
on for
loving
a
the
second.
concept. But yeah, for me, this Life is Strange double exposure, parallel universe type game, definitely gonna play it. Definitely very interested.
It's a might for me. I'm gonna look and see what kind of reviews it gets, and what till we hear more about it, and then I might consider playing it. But I don't know for
Yeah.
sure yet if it's one that I'm gonna want to definitely spend my time on. Next in the showcase, which is one that everybody's already heard about, but a very big release that we're all looking forward to, is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. This trailer mostly cinematic, I think. Very little gameplay shown, but as usual, it didn't let us down. Machine Games tells a great story, and that's what you're playing the Indiana Jones game for, is the story. And like Mike and I were talking about earlier, it'd be great to see this made into like a TV series or a movie as well to kind of go along with it. I like the idea of them taking the game and then making it into a movie or something.
Yeah. And I mean, from what I saw in the games, it's going to be one of those games where the story is just so great. And I'm going to want to talk about it with friends and family who aren't necessarily gamers. And they're just going to look at me like I'm crazy. And I'll be like, what do you mean? You don't know the story of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle? And, I hope that they make it into some other form of media just so that I could like talk about it and like be like, whoa, that's awesome. Yeah, I know. Did you see this part?
Yeah.
But they probably won't, but still, I feel like it's a great opportunity. And I mean, the story behind the game looks amazing. The gameplay looks amazing. It's the most whip usage I think I've ever seen with Indiana Jones. So
Yeah. And
it's
you know that somewhere on YouTube, somebody's going to take all the cutscenes and put them together, so you could actually play it for everybody like a movie, just with all the cutscenes. So you might
yeah. I
be able to
mean,
actually play it that way.
most video games you can do that if you go onto YouTube and type whatever video game cutscene movie
Hmm.
that exists somewhere.
Oh yeah, Halo's got the Master Chief Collection, the entire cutscenes, all three games right there, and I imagine they do all the other games too. But I think Gears of War has that on there.
Yeah.
I'm sure multiple other ones.
Yeah. So for me, it's definitely going to be a must play game for me.
Oh yeah, must play day one. I
Yeah.
might call into work. Just kidding, boss. In case you watch.
the next game that they showed, I got really excited because I thought it was Gundam Wing. And I was like, oh my gosh, Gundam Wing? I can't believe they're making that into another game because the previous games were kind of like turds. But when I saw this game, it looked great. The graphics look great. The robots that can transform into these fighter planes look great. And I was like, oh, this looks awesome. It's not Gundam Wing. Unfortunately, it's not Gundam Wing. It's just Mecha BREAK. And I mean, it still looks interesting, but without the background story of Gundam Wing, I don't really know anything about it. And that kind of lost a lot of my interest. So I'm like, okay, well, what's it about? if it's not the Gundam Wing story, what's the campaign? What's the backstory behind it? And you know, it could be Gundam Wing. They just left the name out, but that seems very odd thing to do. You'd think you'd want to cash in on the Gundam Wing name, but
Yeah, it's. I'm sure it's not. And I didn't see that there was any story, or it looked like it was just a multiplayer type thing, maybe even, and
yeah,
that would be really crap.
yeah. So for me, I'm probably going to end up with this being a pass. Like it's probably going to be an 80% chance that I'm going to pass on this game unless they show something that just knocks it out of the water. It's going to be a no for me.
And the next one on the showcase list would be WUCHANG Fallen Feather. I don't know. uh, I don't know. I mean, it looked nice. It could be good. It looked like it might have a really good storyline to it. It's not my favorite kind of combat. It's kind of what that Dark Souls kind of game. Is that what I remember it being?
I think the one you might be thinking of, where it has that Dark Souls vibe to it, is Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn,
Yeah.
which, I mean, that's the one that they described a lot as being Souls-like, because they can't
Yeah.
say Dark Souls, but yeah,
we get
that's
it when they say that though.
yeah.
So what was
So
this one? Maybe I'm just not remembering it.
this one is more like a JRPG, not turn-based, but a JRPG fighting game
Hmm.
where you're killing monsters. It's kind of like, when I was looking at it, it kind of reminded me a little bit more of like God of War, kind of,
Hmm.
than anything else. So I mean, it looks okay, but again, this is going to be one of those ones that unless I see more stuff, I can't really decide.
Yeah.
And I mean, it might end up being one that I don't play because, for one, I'm not a huge fan of like JRPGs. There are some that I'll play, but it's just I'm
Yeah.
more
Not
picky
many.
when it comes to that.
Yeah. There's not many out there that I liked either. But I mean, this one, if I remember right, looked nice. It
Yeah,
had
no, it
it had a
looked
good
great, and
style to it. So
yeah,
depending on what the combat's like in it, that will decide whether or not I really want to play this game.
I mean, they did show the combat, and there is a lot of combat with these giant monsters, but it feels kind of shallow for me at this point. So
Hmm.
I unless they have a really great story,
Yeah.
like some sort of like great Devil May Cry story, then I'm probably going to end up passing on it. But again, it's too early to tell for me.
So I'm gonna go with it being a maybe.
Yeah.
After Wu Chang was Avowed, which everybody, of course, has been looking forward to. A 2024 release, but still no exact date on when it comes out. I like the look of Avowed. I know a lot of people are like, oh, you might not like it, Mike. It might be a little too cartoony for you. There's not as heavily detailed characters, but I like the
No.
art style. I think it looks really good and goes. I mean, it's um, same people who did was it Outer Worlds, and it's they don't have quite the heightened realism in their characters and their art style, which I'm fine with that. It doesn't have to always be hyper realism, as long as it's a good story and a good game, and it looks like it will
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. It definitely looked to me like an alternative to Elder Scrolls, which, I mean, it just looks like for Elder Scrolls, they're just going to make Elder Scrolls Online DLC for the rest of eternity. But yeah, it looked like a great alternative to one of the Elder Scrolls games. And I actually am interested in playing it because it's very action, it's very combat, it's very magic. And yeah, it did. I honestly did think it was maybe an Elder Scrolls offering, but it's just not. But it still looks great. And for me, there's like a serious maybe, like probably, like I'd say there's like a 70 to 80% chance I'm going to play it.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try it out. I mean, it's on Game Pass. I'm going to give it a shot and see what I think. If I don't like it, I can stop playing it. But it looks like something I'll probably get into.
The next game that they showed was a game called Atomfall, which I swore and I was hoping that it was Fallout because they did show like some kind of like undead ghoulish kind of looking people, except they weren't like regular talking ghouls. They were all like the feral ghouls. It definitely did give me Fallout vibes. Even the name is kind of similar, like Fallout, Atomfall. It's like, okay, what
Yeah,
happens in Fallout? There's an
well,
atom bomb that falls.
right. I'm thinking it is kind of an homage to that. And from what I understand, it's based on like some true event that happened in whatever region this takes place. I think it's somewhere in Great Britain. And then it goes from that disaster that happened to the quarantine zone that you play in. Now, all that part's made up, obviously, but that's where it's coming from. So you have, I like it when they take something that's real world and then they, make it crazy.
Yeah, I mean, taking real world events, tying some story into it, and
Hmm.
making it an artwork is a beautiful, masterful thing to do. Like the next people, which was Assassin's Creed, my favorite genre, my
Right?
favorite game series. I love Assassin's Creed, and this one is Assassin's Creed Shadows, which I think, judging by the art style, I want to say takes place in China.
I think
Um,
it's Japanese. I'm pretty sure they're in
I
Japan.
couldn't really tell, but like I was just judging based off like the building styles and stuff. But I'm not sure if it's Japan or China or whatever. But um, the gameplay looks brilliant. It looks amazing, and I'm all for it. And this is the type of game that I like to see where rather than being forced to play a male character or a female character, which kind of took over the majority of this gameplay presentation, where there was a lot of female characters, at least displayed. I like to see games where you can be both, where you can play, where there's a couple chapters or stages or levels, whatever, where you play as like a male character and then you get to play as a female character. Or another great option is like in Fallout or Elder Scrolls, where you can basically create yourself however you want.
Right.
But I like that option and I like that flexibility, because I don't think for any game you should be forced to play as a certain person or character, or like male or female or anything. Like, even they did that with like what, Mario 2, where you could play as Mario, Luigi, the Toad, Princess, whoever you wanted. And I like that flexibility in a game.
Yeah, but then
So,
there are some games where it just wouldn't make sense, like Tomb Raider. You're not going to change Lara Croft into a dude.
well, yeah,
I
obviously,
mean,
obviously. I mean, and there are characters that are like set and established as like a guy that's going through this or a woman that's going through this game, and yeah, definitely don't touch that. Like, it wouldn't make sense for Hellblade to be like, you could be, Senua, is it her
Cinema,
name?
yeah,
Yeah,
Cinema,
you could be her, or you could be this random other guy. Yeah, that
right?
would feel awkward and shoehorned in. But for new games where it's not so established, yeah, it's awesome if you could have that flexibility, or like you
As
can
long as it
create
just
your own
doesn't have
character.
any, bearing on the story.
Yeah,
If the
exactly.
story, the character needs to be a female character, make it a female character.
Yeah,
If you can be either one in the story, like a Fallout or a Elder Scrolls or any of those things, character creators are awesome, and you can be whatever you want to be. After Assassin's Creed, they had Stalker 2 set for September 5th. This is a game that they're making in Ukraine, so it's taken them a long time to get around to getting this game out, because obviously they're dealing with a lot over there. But I like the look of it. It's got real strong Metro vibes. I love the Metro series. I never played any of the previous Stalker games, so I'm kind of looking forward to jumping into this. But yeah, it looks fun. I mean, I like first person shooter. I like the little quirky, whatever they are. You got to throw like a bolt or something into it to find these little spots that will just kill you instantly, ripping you apart if you walk into these warp things. I'm like, okay, that's something to watch out for.
yeah. I mean, I definitely thought it was Metro as well, like Metro 2099 when I first saw it, and I was like, oh, sweet, another Metro game. But yeah, like you, I never played the original Stalker. I remember seeing it, and I just never bothered to learn more about it. But honestly, if this proves to be like that high level, like high quality game that just sets the bar, then yeah, I've got no problem going back and playing the previous game. I've done that before. I did that with Halo. I did that with Gears of War. I did that with all that stuff. So yeah, it's fine. And I mean, it looks great. It looks beautiful. So I'm definitely going to give it the benefit of the doubt. Definitely going to play it.
Oh
Not
yeah,
sure if I'll play it all the way through, but definitely going to play it.
I will, because I got to complete the story. It's like reading a book halfway and going, I want to complete the story. If it's a story based game like that. Also, not as exciting a news, but Xbox announced 3 consoles: a digital Series X, an all digital Series S, and a special edition, which has a fancy paint job and an extra terabyte of hard drive. Now, the only thing I don't understand about this release is why you didn't stick the 2 terabytes on your all digital systems. It just would
Yeah.
have made a lot more sense to me, because
Yeah.
it's all digital.
Yeah. For the console that you need the extra storage on, they didn't put the extra storage on. Because it's basically, they've always had that where, the Series X was had a disk drive in it. So the only difference in their offering is now they also have a a digital
Mm-hmm.
Series X.
Now I don't know if they changed any like chipsets out or anything like that in there that would give it a little more power, kind of like they did with the mid-gen refreshes before. But and of course, this proves me right, Mike. It'll be 2028 before you see a new next gen console. I guarantee you.
Meh, whatever. I'm just
But
really
that's for both
disappointed.
systems. Both of them are taking their time because these systems barely got to the market because of the chip shortage for so long, to
Yeah.
where people are finally developing on them.
I was really hoping for a mobile console like a Nintendo Switch from Xbox, but I mean, with them going discless, I don't care. Because I mean, it's great if somebody doesn't already have an
Oh
Xbox,
yeah,
and especially if there's going to be a huge price difference. Like if it's like $399 for the 2 terabyte disk drive one, or $299, like $100 cheaper for the digital one. Duh, go the
yeah.
digital one. You know,
I don't think it'll be that much of a price difference. I think you're looking at $50 difference, and I bet the special edition will still be the 499. That's I haven't heard anything announced, but that would be my guesses. You're looking at $50 difference in the digital versus a regular.
I think that'd be a terrible, stupid decision
I think so
because
too, but we'll see what happens. They
yeah,
tend to make those stupid decisions, so
and honestly, the thing that would be a difference maker for me is if Microsoft came out and said, "Hey, we got the storage mixed up during the presentation, that the all digital one is 2 terabytes and that the disk based one is 1 terabyte." Because then, if that's the case, I'll get the all digital one for the 2 terabytes. I'll trade my Xbox Series X that I currently have for the extra terabyte. But
yeah, I don't know if I would or not because I've already bought the card, the memory card, so I already have that extra terabyte in there.
then you would have a third terabyte.
True, true. Also, I
But
don't I don't want the white one.
yeah,
I don't
but
want it.
but
But
yeah,
of
for
course, you can
me
buy those
it's
skins and put on them, so it doesn't matter.
yeah. So for me, I when I saw them announce that digital one, I couldn't care less. I was like, oh, cool. I don't care. Whatever. Next. And I thought that was going to be the end of the presentation, but they hid something away.
Yes, they did. They hid Gears of War E-Day, which you see. It starts out with this combat between a gear and a locust, and you're going, "Oh, who is this? What's going on? This is Marcus's son." And then you get a little bit closer look, and you see the the headband that he always wears. It's definitely
And the
Marcus's
cog tag.
headband. You see the dog tag when they do a close up of that, so you can tell that it says Marcus on it. And you go, "Oh, it's a young Marcus. Nice." And then, of course, as Marcus is about to fall into the flaming pit down there, who shows up but Dom?
Yeah.
Love those two together. I mean,
Yeah. I got a
one
little
of the few
choked up.
games that brought a tear to my eye is the death of Dom and Dom having to shoot his wife. Those two
Yeah.
things in the storyline were rough.
Yeah. Yeah. When I saw that an arm gripped him, I wasn't sure if it was going to be Marcus's dad or what, but when I saw that it was Dom, I was like, Dom! Like I got a little teary eyed. I was like, someone's cutting onions in here. I was so happy to see Dom. I missed him.
Yeah, I didn't get that sissy like you, but you know,
Whatever.
I was happy to
Don't
see him.
don't hate me because I have feelings somewhere.
We'll work on getting rid of those for you. The final thing, which they did a 30-minute developers direct on at the end of the show, was Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Now, me personally, story wise, the best Call of Duties. They are really, really well done, the Black Ops series. I'm really looking forward to this one. And again, it's another one of those things that takes real history and then weaves their story in around it. I really like that. So,
Yeah, I think it's
yeah,
supposed to
I'm
take place
looking
during the
forward to it.
90s.
Yeah, like late 80s, early 90s. It's during the Iraqi war and that kind of thing.
Yeah, after the Cold War, I think.
Right after the Cold War, yeah, which would be Reagan. It's about 84, 85, on up through mid 90s, which have been Iraq and fighting Hussein and all that.
Yeah. It definitely looks sick. And if I have stayed away from Call of Duty for like the last couple years, like 5, 6, 7 years, just because I got so tired of Call of Duty, whether it be Black Ops or Advanced Warfare or Modern Warfare or whatever. I just got kind of tired of it. I'm like, okay, I don't care. And I know not to go onto the online multiplayer because it'll just be me getting teabagged by 7 year olds. So yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I used to be
not
pretty good with the multiplayer when I had a team of people that I played with regularly, and we all worked together at the prison and stuff when I worked out there. So we had a good team. I had one guy that was amazing. He'd go through there akimbo with the pistols. I just sniped people that might get in his way. He killed most of them. He'd have 35, 40 kills. I'd have 5, 6.
yeah.
But it worked. So
Yeah. I mean, I'll definitely, especially considering that it's coming to Game Pass. Also, just to mention, because there was a lot of panic around this, yes, Call of Duty, even though the publishing company did get bought by Microsoft, it's still coming to Microsoft and Xbox at the same time. There's not going to be like, you're not
you
going to
mean
have to wait a
PlayStation?
year if you have PS5.
Yeah, it's
It's
coming
going
to
to come
all
out the same.
systems at the same
Yeah,
time.
all the systems, all the versions. Also, one of the things the only thing that I didn't like is they're having to dumb it down because it's going to be available on PS4 and Xbox One, like Xbox One S and all that stuff. And I didn't really like that. I'm like, we have moved so far away from the previous generation of consoles. Leave them dead and buried. Leave them in the
Yeah,
dust behind.
we're talking about the next
Optimize them for the
generation already. We don't need to go back to the older ones.
yeah, let's optimize the game for the let's optimize all these games for the current generation of consoles. Don't get held back by the previous consoles. So that drove me nuts when I saw that.
Right.
But
And
it
I'm
is
betting it doesn't
available
run
for
as well. I bet it looks terrible. I bet they have all kinds of problems with it on those older systems because it's just not necessary.
yeah, but it is going to be available. So if you buy it on PlayStation for PS5, yes, you'll also have it for PS4 if you have a PS4. And the same thing for Xbox. If you buy it on the Xbox Series X, then you'll be able to play it on the Xbox, the previous generation of Xbox One. So there is that. And all the versions are going to be out too. So they'll all come out at the same time. It's not like for Xbox, they're going to have like the premium versions, but not
Right.
for PS5 or anything. All versions, all consoles, everything all at once, everywhere.
It's a definite play for me, especially my other concern with it is, from what I've heard online, is the size of this game. I'm hoping you can download, because I think they did it with Modern Warfare where you could download just the campaign or just the multiplayer. They were like two separate things. We're talking over 300 gigabytes for both. That's huge. That's a lot of space to use up on my hard drive.
I'm totally down for it.
Oh, I'm going to do
if
it.
that's
I'm going to play it. But if I don't have to have the multiplayer, if I could get just the zombies in the campaign, I'm happy. I
yeah,
don't need the
true.
multiplayer.
I didn't think about that. But yeah, if there's a way to separate the multiplayer from the regular game, because there are some people that never even touch the campaign, that they
Right. They
just
just play
play
the multiplayer.
zombies and multiplayer.
Yep.
And I'd be the exact opposite. I don't want to play the multiplayer and get headshotted from people
Right.
with aimbots from halfway across the screen, that shoot through a wall and somehow it does a headshot to me. No,
Right.
I want to play the campaign. I want to see all the the strife and everything with all the characters and like them, having to like see their best friends get shot or whatever, just because there's really gripping story in a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of these Call of Duty games.
Especially the Black Ops ones. They usually have just great situations that happen and play out like you said, like a top Hollywood movie, or like Hollywood movies used to be back in the 80s. Now they're, yeah. But that was pretty much the whole showcase right there. That was everything.
Pretty much that was the whole showcase. We
That
talked
was the
about
whole
everything, even
showcase.
even their dud of a digital console.
I mean, it's not a bad idea to have the digital console if they price it right.
The other thing is, I would totally be interested in the digital console if it was smaller. Like if the Xbox One or if the Xbox Series X all digital was the same form factor as the Xbox Series S.
Yeah.
You know, if it was slim like that, I would probably do that. I'd be
I
like,
bet
yeah,
that
I
comes
want.
down to a money thing where they just change the color of the plastic going into the mold and use the same box. That's all it is. It's just
Yeah,
it made it cheaper to produce.
yeah,
And that's a good thing too, because that means the price should be lower because it's cheaper to produce. But
yeah.
then again, you're
But I mean,
producing 3 different new consoles for what reason?
yeah,
Just focus on the
yeah,
next gen and that mobile one. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Like us on YouTube, follow us, leave comments. Let us know what you guys think of these games that are coming out. It's okay if you disagree with us. We like it. And we will usually reply to your comments if we get a chance. Um, and we appreciate anything that helps us build our brand and make us better. And we really appreciate y'all coming and watching.
yeah.
Um,
Definitely like and subscribe and comment, all that stuff. The interaction, we love it. And definitely subscribe, especially if you've got friends or family that are interested in our show. Definitely get them to subscribe because, as I've mentioned before, once we hit 50 subscribers, we're going to start doing giveaways. They'll start small, but then as we grow in our audience, we'll scale up our prizes, and it'll be like monthly drawings for stuff like Xbox or PlayStation gift cards, stuff like that. But we have to hit that 50 subscriber mark first. So help us grow and we can start giving stuff back.
all right. Thank you.
All right. Peace.